Blood-red blooms. In the footsteps of the dead. The fist of the mountains broke themselves to preserve the spires of Elos, denying the Grendel a ruinous weapon of the Spring Realm, looted from the fallen Temple of Tempest Jade. The orcs of the Broken Shore must adjust their strategy. Perhaps they initially intended a hit and run, looting Elos and leaving the port shattered to demonstrate again their arrogant belief that they are the masters of the Bay of Catazar. Perhaps they always intended to seize the coast of Redoubt. Perhaps their hungry gaze is turned inland to where the brilliant star lies in the foothills of Tamari. The Salt Lords of the Grendel have an insatiable lust for mithril after all. There are 3 armies here: the Black Eels, the Bone Nautilus, and the Hamsin. The Black Eels, as is their wont, take every opportunity to strip the valuables from the people of Urizen whose spires they breach. The other 2 armies are more interested in land and conquest, for all that they come cautiously, carefully. Perhaps they do not wish to risk the kind of unexpected confrontation that wrecked their plans last season. They are supported by an armada of swift-moving warships with red and green and blue and yellow sails. The Shamal, the Simoon, the Tempest, and the Golden Winds. These 3 armies are surely some of the best provisioned and well-supported armies anywhere along the Bay of Catazar. Valuable as that support is, however, it can only do so much. It is the armies of the Broken Shore that must face the anger of the Empire, not the Grendel secure at sea in their fine warships. Sword, spear, staff. The fist of the mountains face the entire Grendel onslaught alone. The shadow of their heroism hangs over Redoubt, over the Imperial armies who come now to fight the barbarians. The Black Torns out of Astolat march to join up with the 2 new armies, the Argent Sword fresh from their part in securing victory against the Druge in Zenith, and the untested Pilgrim's Defiance, only recently mustered in Cassanea. Untested, but filled with zeal and virtue as only the Highborn are. An army of grey pilgrims raised to fight the Valorn, eager to temper their virtue in the tempest of war. Highguard and Navarre come together, making the river crossing at Hedra to Cargo. The Navarre veterans march together with the Highborn, and while one army is new, the soldiers of both are not strangers to each other. The grey pilgrims have walked trods with the Navarre for years now. On the road south, existing friendships are renewed, and new ones built on shared experience. Both armies are wrapped in the clarity of the Day Realm, which helps them make good time to their rendezvous. At the Urizen city they meet the exotic mercenaries of the Autumn Realm. Siege engines and titan constructs of brass and bronze are overseen by canny engineers from the Fire Mountain. Cadres of chain-armoured minotaurs, eager for plunder, spiderkin tacticians from the City of Bridges, brutally efficient warriors from the cities of the Iron Labyrinth. When they move towards Siluri to engage the Grendel, the garrison of Cargo accompanies them, swelling their numbers. They are met by the White Fountain Sentinels. Both garrisons are bolstered by more autumnal mercenaries. The ramparts of Ashlar have been woven into the fortifications of Redoubt this season, and their influence extends far beyond the walls of the citadels themselves. The Thorns and the Pilgrims move steadily, cautiously, careful to avoid whatever trap the Grendel are preparing. The Argent Sword are less concerned about the danger, focused as they are on claiming the valuables the Grendel have seized, and the forged weapons and fine armour and practical talismans they have brought with them. They are creatures of autumn after all, and there are no brokers of the City of Golden Lead to gainsay their raiding. As the armies begin to move, the magic of spring floods through Redoubt. It sparkles in the streams and pools, and in the rain that falls. It nestles in every water bottle and skin. The rivers of life flow through the hills, mountains, and valleys. Only fatal injuries will not be healed by this potent magic. Those who survive a battle, no matter how grievous their wounds, will rise again refreshed the next morning. Most of the Empire's soldiers welcome the healing power, but the Heralds of Autumn mutter and grumble about it among themselves. They cast suspicious glances towards the clouds, and complain that the waters spread rust and verdigris and the taint of uncreation. If there is a real downside to the magic, it is that as with all such magic, it is indiscriminate, healing the virtuous and the unvirtuous alike. Flowers in the snow. Imperial troops and their magical allies march south to engage the invaders bent on claiming Siluri. The Grendel are already well on their way to seizing the region and its wealth. There are spires aplenty on the slopes of the mountain that gives the region its name, and along the Kuros to the east, rich mines of Tempest Jade and Welt Silver, the Pilgrim's Way that leads to the Shrine of the Arms Master, and perhaps most relevantly, the central Heliopticon Tower for the Redoubt network. If that is captured, it has significant implications for the people of Redoubt, especially the Doyen of the Spires. And of course, from Siluria it is barely a stone's throw to the rich city of Cargo. The Grendel armies are clearly expecting some response from the Empire. Scouts from both sides quickly begin assessing the other side's strength and position, and begin to maneuver their forces to seek advantage. On the second night after the Imperial forces enter Siluria along the road from Cargo, there is a rumbling thunderstorm, during which no rain falls. The next morning, the sun rises over a grand citadel of ice and blue stone, perched on the side of Mount Siluri. From its gates issue a cohort of one-eyed giants, armed with vicious hooked polearms. Their castellan is a stout giantess in a cloak of mandola feathers, who offers the hospitality of the keep to the pilgrims' defiance. At the same time, a bastion of white stone with high fluted towers rises in the hill near Tabulus in Tomari. Warbands of squat, bandy-legged goblin kind, armoured in silver metal and pale fur, with white wood shortbows come to fight alongside the black thorns. The heralds of autumn then are joined by the warriors of summer. Both sides studiously ignore one another as much as possible. More powerful defensive magic, enough to give the Grendel pause indeed. But what did they expect? They are invading Urizen after all, and the pre-eminent magicians in the Empire, and perhaps even the known world, do not sit at home lamenting when they can wield the power of the first pillar to shape the world to their will. An argument of blades. The majority of both Grendel and Imperial forces have adopted more defensive strategies even as one strives to conquer Redoubt and the other works to drive them out. The Black Eels and the Argent Sword have very different plans. Both are focused on plunder first and foremost. For the invaders it is theft pure and simple, as they seek to divest the Spires of Urizen of as much wealth as possible. The Heralds of the Autumn Realm are more interested in recovering what has already been stolen, although they are not shy about keeping a portion of that recovered wealth, a finder's fee, if you will. It is clear, however, that as well as more traditional wealth, the Black Eels are targeting the magical libraries of Urizen. Bands of thieves and raiders follow in the wake of the more disciplined armies, and fall on those spires that the Grendel capture. They are eager to clear the shelves. They seem to have little appreciation of what they are stealing, knowing only that the magicians and scholars of Attar will pay well for these tomes and scrolls. Some are captured back by the Argent Sword, many more disappear south towards the waiting ships. There are rumours that Faror, Seer of the Sky and Diviner of Office, the well-connected Grendel magician who helped lead the attempted looting of the Lyceum, has been advising some of the Black Eel's thieves. The hills ring with the sound of steel on steel, with the roars of summer giants, with swift spat words of battle magic, with voices raised in victorious hymns, and with the silence of the Navarre. The sides clash, and the fray is joined. The wrath of many Imperials, especially the Highborn, is heightened when they see how many of the Grendel warriors bear weapons and shields of a particularly Wintermark cast. They have looted the dead, an egregious insult to those soldiers who laid down their lives to save Elos. While the Empire has magical allies drawn from autumn and summer, the Grendel have more mundane auxiliaries. There are warbands of Asaveans among them, especially with the Hamsin. These mercenary soldiers particularly seek out opportunities to engage the highborn troops, chanting blasphemous prayers to their red goddess when they fight. They are cruel and brutal, but they also seem to be a little on the back foot, more used to fighting ragtag rebels along the shores of their archipelago than facing the bold steel of the Empire, perhaps. Their presence is a matter for concern, a consequence of the great Asavean battleships sailing alongside the Grendel navies. Venger's Blade and Belo's Grace are both here, bolstering the Grendel navies. The navies themselves bear powerful enchantments, according to observers high atop the walls of the White Fountain. Barely perceptible halos of day magic flow and swirl in ordered patterns around the hundreds of ships along the coast. The ship captains and admirals oversee a smoothly oiled machine, where everyone seems to know where they are needed, and where every opportunity for victory is quickly identified and exploited. This same magic washes over onto land. The Grendel are rigorously securing their positions in Naris, bolstering the defences in anticipation of the siege they must know is coming. As their soldiers fight and die in the foothills, the marines and sailors prepare for the future. In Naris. Fortunately, the navies are preoccupied, dealing with the winter spirits that haunt southern Naris after the destruction of the Fist of the Mountains. Many of those unliving horrors were raised into Sato, cadavers of the League buried with grave goods that the Grendel raiders are eager to seize. Perhaps more importantly, they have carried away the pinnacle, the symbol of pride for those who fought with the Fist. Divinations suggest it has been sent south to the court of Lord Garvin, the Salt Lord of Danath. What plans they might have for the stone are difficult to guess, but veterans who remember the fell use to which the dragons once put the crown of the Three Tiers fear the worst. A greater loss, for the Urizen at least, is the Tower of Light and Shadow, the seat of the Penumbral Watcher. The rays of Unan Coven have torn away the shrouds that once protected the tower with a spell of merciless light. The delicate balance of night magic that upheld the tower could not survive this rough treatment. Unravelled by Sky Mage Callahan, the secrets of the tower have been taken by the witches of the Neguero. It remains to be seen what the former Lizambrian orcs will do with this lore. Worst of all, news comes from spies and scouts that the navies are using their foothold to import white granite, working feverishly to fortify the walls around the port of Elos. Crude by Imperial standards, these bolstered walls will nonetheless create an additional obstacle in reclaiming the port if they are completed. Both the granite and the engineering expertise comes not from the Grendel themselves, but from their western allies. The old Sempronia family has apparently seized the quarries that once belonged to the now much reduced Tarquinius, but continue to supply the orcs of the Broken Shore. They are not attempting to throw up a fortification. The defences they are deploying are makeshift, similar to the kind of work the Tower Jacks might do. It will make retaking Naris, and Elos in particular, much more challenging. Into Tamari. While the bulk of the fighting takes place in Siluri, a sizable contingent of the Black Eels break off and along with Asavean mercenaries try to push east into Tamari. It soon becomes clear that they cannot hope to make headway against the bastion of Kahankane, especially when the garrison of the court of the White Fountain pulls back from the fighting in Siluri and comes to the defence of their neighbours. The speed and surety of the Sentinel response puts the Black Eels on the back foot. They rethink their plans and ultimately fall back to rejoin the fighting in Siluri. A small handful continue to raid the spires of western Tamari, but they are no match for the defenders. While they have some minor successes against a few spires taken by surprise, they are ultimately foiled by Urizen magic and the strength of the citadels of Redoubt. Without the conjured fortress, though, the situation would have been very different. It's likely the Black Eels would have torn through the western spires and seized a significant portion of Tamari. In the shadow of Mount Siluri. Naris and Tamari are far away from the foothills of Siluri, however, where great numbers of human and orc soldiers spill out their blood and sweat in pursuit of land. The Grendel have the advantage, in that their surprise attack has stolen a march on the Empire. It's obvious that had the Fist of the Mountain not been here, then their control of Siluri might have been completed before the autumn equinox, and the fighting instead taken place in Limos, threatening not only Cargo, but the forges of the Spiral Sword and the western end of the Bridge of Air as well, for good measure. The clash is furious, and the sides reasonably well matched. What the Grendel lack in magic they more than make up for with the support of their navies and their Asavean allies. In the end, the Imperial armies slow their advance, but cannot prevent them claiming Mount Siluri, and after that the entire region. The last battle takes place before the walls of the Keep of Azure Ice. The frozen citadel holds for 3 days, but in the end the orcs of the Broken Shore and the mercenaries of the west are able to breach the gate and seize the castle. After that the writing is on the walls. The Imperial armies are forced to retreat back into Limos, towards Cargo. The Imperial armies are bruised, but by no means bowed. Their retreat is orderly, controlled, disciplined. They take up positions in the hills around Cargo, bracing for another Grendel assault, which does not come. The invaders harry them as they withdraw, but do little more than probe the defences of the northwestern hills. They seem content to secure their control of Siluri. They are clearly not prepared to risk beginning a siege of the well-defended walls of Cargo, built by an alliance of 4 nations, at least not yet. At the same time, there is a Grendel embassy in Cargo. For all that it has only a skeletal staff, it is almost inconceivable that the staff is not engaged in espionage against their hosts. Does the embassy pose a threat to the safety of Redoubt? Is the reason the Grendel are not yet pushing further north that they are waiting for some signal from the merchant city? There has been loss of life on both sides, but it is a fraction of what it might have been without a combination of spring magic and the cautious strategies employed. While Imperial and Grendel alike lost roughly the same number of troops, it is notable to the Imperial observers that the armies of the Grendel have been disproportionately weakened. The navies of the Attar offer support, but they are not at risk. The brunt of the fighting is endured by the Bone Nautilus and the Hamsin, while the Grendel admirals remain safely in the south. Either way, as the winter solstice dawns, Redoubt enjoys a moment to breathe, a delicate shroud of anticipation. Soldiers on both sides must be asking themselves, what's next? Will the Grendel strike towards Cargo, or will they seek easier pickings to the east? How far does their ambition extend? How far will their audacity take them, and how far will the Empire go to secure its own retribution against these invaders? Game information. Grendel forces now control both Siluri and Naris. A combination of cautious tactics on the part of the Grendel, the Empire's armies, and especially Imperial enchantments, prevented them from making even more significant gains. Without the frozen citadel of Cahan Kane in Tamari, for example, it is entirely possible the Black Eels might have claimed a quarter of Tamari and been well on their way to capturing the Brilliant Star. The Asavean allies of the Grendel among the Sempronia have provided white granite and expertise to construct makeshift defences around the port of Elos. These defences function in the same way as those that might be created by a force with the engineer quality taking the dig-in order. They will be in place following the winter solstice, increasing the number of victory points needed to capture the Naris region by 10. This temporary fort will last until the start of the summer solstice, assuming that further effort is not expended to maintain or improve it, and assuming nobody interferes with the construction. The loss of Siluri means that Redoubt's central Heliopticon tower is in the hands of the Grendel, which has significant implications for the spires of Redoubt. While communication between spires is still possible, until this tower is liberated from the Grendel, the ability of the Doyen of the spires to codify ritual text will be reduced by 5 magnitude each season. The delicate balance of night magic that supported the Tower of Light and Shadow, the Tilfusian Reach, has been wrecked by Grendel day magic. The tower itself still stands, and as near as anyone can tell, there is still a Regio attuned to the Night Realm in the vicinity, but its library has been extensively looted by the Grendel. It is feasible that if the tower is recovered, at least some of the power that once flowed here might be recovered in some form or another, although that might require the aid of an Eternal. The exact circumstances under which the Tilfusian Reach was harnessed are not common knowledge. Perhaps the Arcane Architect knows more? The winter spirits loosed by the fall of the Fist of the Mountains appear to have been contained, but it is not clear how much they have been weakened, if at all. Urizeni agents recount that Saltbinder Greco, a Grendel master of the lore of Salt, has been brought in to deal with the situation in some capacity. Grendel opportunities. The Grendel continue to loot Redoubt, particularly that of the Tower of Light and Shadow and the spires of Naris and Siluri. Imperial prognosticators speculate that it is likely that the Orcs of the Broken Shore have enough stolen arcana to feasibly create an arcane army, or perhaps attract magicians to one or more of their mercenary armies. Worse, however, is the grim spectre of a magical navy combining maneuverability with the ability to deliver deadly curses or hostile enchantments anywhere along the coast of the Bay of Kadazar. The Pinnacle, the relic of the Fist of the Mountain claimed by Salt Lord Garvin of Danath, is a major prize for the Grendel. This trophy represents an opportunity for one of the barbarian armies to improve their army quality, or even create a new army with a potent quality, much as the Empire has done on numerous occasions. Battle opportunity. A major conjunction of the Sentinel Gate has been identified by Imperial prognosticators that leads to the vicinity of Elos in Naris. It's not clear at this time what opportunity the conjunction offers, but it's likely to involve Grendel efforts around the captured port.